welcome to the Joy of Yoga. This is just one of the 6 yoga challenge poses that we'll be demystifying for you in this video. We're gonna break down all of these crazy challenges into basic, simple steps so you can accomplish them at home. Let's get started. All right, so now we're gonna break down that pose so you guys can accomplish it at home. We'll be doing that for all 6 of the poses in this video, as well as we'll be rolling out a series which will really give you all the secrets to accomplish any acro yoga pose you need, really get the basics down and the mechanics working so you can feel comfortable doing it at home. So to start that pose that you just saw in the intro, which is called a cantilever, I'm going to stand behind my partner. My feet are about hips distance apart. My partner kneels on her knees. This is Deborah, by the way. I didn't say that. And she's going to reach her arms up and over and behind my back. I'm just going to twist this way a little bit. As you can see, she can grab her forearms here. That's going to be the most secure pose way of holding. If you need to, if you've got a bigger guy or not as open arms, you can always come to a fingertip grip or interlace the fingers, whatever feels good for you. So now I'm taking her arms here. I'm gonna kind of sit back, sink into my chair squat a little bit. She's gonna step one foot out in front of the other, letting her bottom drop towards the floor. That's really important. That really helps me to feel her weight and get settled in this pose. Then she's going to lift one leg. I'm gonna hook her ankle with my hand, and as I stretch back, Deborah's gonna take her bottom leg straight out in front of her, really keep it engaged and activated as I start to lean back. She's staying really tight here. I'm gonna give her a little squeeze to let her know that I'm gonna start to sit up so she can bring up her leg simultaneously, holding that balance. And then as she lowers, I can lower back. So we're really creating this tension here. Kind of like a bridge, how a bridge stands on its own, creating that counterbalance. Every partner balance has either equal pressure going in or equal pressure pulling out, not one person giving more than the other. Awesome. So one of the really fun things about acro is that a base can fly and a flyer can base. You guys can just take turns switching off, though it's okay if you prefer one over the other, but we're gonna go ahead and switch. So Deborah's gonna try basing this and I'll fly it. So as the flyer, I'm gonna come to my knees. Deborah steps behind me. I reach my arms back and around her torso, taking that forearm grip or whatever grip's easiest for you. She's settling into her stance. I take my legs out in front of me, keeping my bottom heavy, give her an ankle, take my legs straight out, staying really active, tight body, and Deborah's gonna reach back. And then so she just squeezed my ankle. There are multiple ways to communicate through acro that doesn't involve just talking. A lot of body language, a lot of signaling. Oh, nice, and down. So fun, and if you don't get it right away, that's okay. Sometimes it takes calibrating 20 times, 50 times, and we're always saying one more. So it's okay, just keep trying. So now we're gonna move on to a down dog with a handstand coming off of the down dog. So I'll go ahead and get into a down dog position. Now, as an acro yoga instructor, I'm so excited to see people getting really interested in this and trying them and whatnot. That's great. I'm glad you're enthusiastic, but I've also been seeing not the best form when people are trying it. So I want to make sure that you stay safe because it is easy to twinge something, tweak something. So we're going to show you how to get into that down dog handstand partner balance. So when you come into your down dog, it's actually good to start from a high plank. So then you really know where your hands and your feet should be situated in your down dog. And it's actually good to have your feet a little bit wider than hips distance apart. So now when she's in her plank, she's gonna shift her hips back, pulling her shoulder blades back and down her spine, which creates a lot of space for her neck to just kind of hang there nicely. Her heels are really stretching and reaching down into the floor here. Hips are really pressing back and up. So she's really stable here and she's not gonna hurt her shoulders. Yeah, go ahead and scoot forward a little bit again, like right here. I see a lot of down dogs like this, and this is not a down dog. Push your chest through. Beautiful. So that's really going to save your shoulders in the end. So now that we have a nice solid base, I'm going to place one hand in front of each of Deborah's. I can step over in a makeshift down dog here. Get set. I'm going to step one foot. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. I'm putting it right at the top of her hip, not actually on her bottom. So I'm going to nice and slow press both of my feet up and then stretch my legs straight, which now makes my hips come over my back, and I let my head drop through to look back at Deborah. Now my shoulders are pulling away from my ears here. I'm just staying nice and relaxed and bone stacking, shoulder over wrist. And then I'm gonna slowly step one foot down, then the other, and come on out. Thanks, Deb. Yeah. All right, so now we'll show you the down dog scorpion, which is a lot of fun. Kind of the same setup, but just slightly different with the handstand variation. So now I'm gonna come into my down dog pose here. Again, always setting the foundation, pressing back. This mat, I think, is meant for heated vinyasa, so it's a little bit slippery, but Deb had no problems. So now Deb is going to put one hand in front of mine, and each of mine. Then she's gonna step her legs up, but this time she's gonna take them kind of just straight back. She doesn't really actually need to put her feet on my bottom. And then she's just gonna slide her belly to my back. And then once she feels situated, she's gonna activate her low back and start to lift her legs up and over her head, keeping her hips pushing back towards my hips so she can create a nice arch. I can't see it, but I'm sure it's beautiful.
We're there.
We're there. Boom. Cool. And then she slowly, with control, bring her legs down. I can come to a child's pose. Boom. And it's okay if you fall. Just laugh, get up. You know, we're all playing here. We're all discovering. Okay, so just to reiterate, as we're going through this, some key things that you really should be focusing on during any acro yoga practice for safe, fun play. Those are 5 main things that you really need to think about. One is communication. Again, like I said before, it doesn't necessarily take speaking, talking to communicate with your partner. You can give little squeezes. 2 squeezes is too much. 3 squeezes is not enough. Or, you know, like now when I squeeze my hand here, go ahead and lift the other leg. Also watching your partner. If they start to wince or their breathing gets shallow, you can tell that they're in pain or they're uncomfortable. If at any point you want to stop what you're doing because you don't feel stable, the magic word is down. You just say down and both people will work together, slow and controlled, to get you safely to the floor. The next one is stay tight. Tighter is lighter. There's no debating that. Like, you have to engage every single muscle when called for, especially as a flyer, because it's not your job to balance. If 2 people try to balance the same kind of pose, then you guys will just topple because you'll counter each other. So one person has to stay really tight. You're reaching out through your fingertips, through your toes. Everything is just squeezing. And then the base is balancing you like a broomstick, you know, so it's easier to balance a broomstick than it is a limp noodle. I tell my gymnastics kids that. The next thing is where your placements are. Everybody's different. That's okay. I can now pick up 330 pounds on my feet, but that's because I've been doing it for almost 5 years. So it doesn't matter how big you are or what your background is like, or I've never done yoga. Deborah and I both started acro yoga before we ever touched yoga. So figuring out, like, just because it worked in one place for one person doesn't mean that same thing is gonna work with another. So calibrating is crucial. No matter who I come to, how experienced they are, we calibrate. And sometimes that takes a lot longer than we thought it would, and that's okay. And then also bone stacking. For me to pick up 330 pounds and hold them on my feet for 20 minutes, I'm not using pure muscle. Like, that's crazy. I couldn't do that all muscle. Sure, the initial weight in would take a little bit of muscle, but once I get my ankles stacked over my hips or my wrists stacked over my shoulders, then it becomes, again, a balancing act, balancing that broomstick on your hands. And then also balance, just balance in general. You're really going to learn how to use all of your stabilizers. Again, the base, whoever's on the bottom, it's their job to balance the person that they are holding. If that person up top falls, it is because it's the base's fault. The base should start to learn, what's too far, where their midline is, where it feels strongest, and what to do in case a tip or a wobble does start to happen, how to bring it in safely, or how to safely lower your flyer to the ground. So always keep those tips in mind. Communication, staying tight, tight as light, and placement of the hands and feet. You're always gonna have to calibrate. And then bone stacking, really figuring out that sweet spot where you go from like, oh my God, this is killing my hamstrings to, oh, okay, I feel it now. It'll be like a little switch. And then last but not least, balance. Just really cultivating that, working on it. You're not gonna get it right away, but you will with practice. So now we're gonna get into some more fun, like shoulder stand type balances. These are a little bit more intermediate. You should be familiar with at least a headstand if you wanna go into something like this as a flyer. So now let's go ahead and, do you want me to do the one on feet and then you do the one on my?
Yeah.
Okay, because I like shoulder stands. So we haven't practiced this yet. But now you can kind of see how two yogis would come together, or two people who are just trying to play would come together and try something new. So Deborah's really set. She's coming into like a Sphinx pose here, if you're familiar with yoga. Elbows are underneath the shoulders. Shoulders are rolling back and down. Her back is really strong. Her glutes are engaged. And she's gonna squeeze an imaginary ball between her thighs as I give you like a little smack down, okay? So again, we haven't practiced this yet. I hope I don't fall on you, Deb. Let me put my hair up. So as a flyer, I'm gonna place my shoulders right on her feet. What was easiest for you? Hands on the shoulders or on the leg? Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Okay. Maybe on the ground. Ready? Okay, so my shoulders are in her feet right now, and then I'm gonna pop and take my hips up overhead. I have to sink my shoulders, really let her do the balancing now as I take my hands away. You good? Okay. Nice. Boom. And so she's balancing me right now. I'm just trying to stay still and trust it. And my head is pressing into her shins. I've got a counter pull with my hands on her shins, on her calves. And then I'm gonna slowly lower my feet down and stand back up. It was a little low, that's okay. That's an interesting one to hold. We just saw that on an Instagram picture, of course, like everybody else sees all these yoga challenges, and we're like, we can do that. And voila, you never know what you're capable of. Cool. Yeah. So that one, the legs are really unstable in that pose. You really have to know how to like squeeze and engage and like keep it there. So now we'll show you another variation of a shoulder stand. Let's face this way, sorry. So I'm gonna come into a bridge now, and she's gonna do a shoulder stand on my knees. So again, setting the foundation is crucial, because the more stable your foundation is, the more stable your flyer will be. So bridge pose, I've seen a lot of wonky bridges too in my time on YouTube. So I'm gonna make sure my feet are a little bit wider than hips distance apart, reaching my fingertips to my heels, like I just barely wanna be able to touch them. I'm going to scoop and lift my tailbone up towards the ceiling, and then squeeze my knees together, pressing my feet away from the ground, like into the ground. And as you can see, that really lifts and gives me a nice arch. If you can, clasp your fingers and tuck the shoulders, keeping the chin lifted so you have space in your neck. All right, so now that I'm really set and strong here, again, everything is activated. I'm squeezing. Deborah's gonna reach down. She's gonna place her shoulders right onto my knees. And then she's going to press her hips up. She can take one knee at a time And then slowly she's going to come to a pike straddle. So this is a straddle is when your legs are as wide apart as they can go, and your body is at a 90-degree angle. And now I'm squeezing my legs into her neck, actually, for a little extra stability. Nice. And then she can slowly lower down and unbind. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to show you 2 more balances here. These are standing balances. So whoever's going to base this, you want to have a strong core, strong foundation, maybe you know how to do some squats. I'm going to come into a tabletop position. So my knees are underneath my hips, my wrists are underneath my shoulders. Deb is going to lay her tummy across my back. And then she's going to reach across my stomach here and grab her knees. So now her feet are off the ground and she's kind of like cradled in a fetal position here. And this doesn't look like it'd be pretty stable, but it is actually. So now I'm going to press up into a down dog. Walk my feet forward, hands back, and then stand up. Then Deborah's going to hook an ankle, squeeze, pull it in. And then really squeeze tight. Ba, 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 ba. Again, as long as you have like a good solid foundation, you should be able to do this. And I'm going to bow to stand her up. Boom, good job. All right, so we were just talking, and like I said before, sometimes things take a lot of calibrating. Both Deborah and I felt like maybe she was sitting a little bit too low on my hips. She really wasn't able to go into that full expression of the splits like she was hoping for. So we're gonna do it again. Even though we've done this before and we've nailed it before, just because that has happened doesn't mean we're gonna get it every time. And that's okay, it's fun to play.
A little bit higher.
Yeah, so this time now she's gonna account for the changes that we need to make, just like NASA would on a space shuttle. Pressing back. Yeah, this already feels like you're gonna end up. There we go. Yeah, nice. And you split sooner. Boom. So a few calibrations, a few like, hey, what do you think went wrong there? What do you think didn't work last time? And now we're really able to nail it. And we're not upset about it. And I'm gonna give a forward fold here. Ba-ba. Okay, so I know that I said that we were gonna be giving you 6 poses in this video, but I wanna give you a bonus 7th pose here, because this one is a lot of fun and a lot easier than you might think it would be. So Deborah is actually going to come into a handstand in front of me. I'm gonna catch her feet for her. So she's gonna scissor kick one leg up. I grab onto the ankle, help her stay stable. And then I'm going to turn my back towards her, kind of give a little sumo squat and hook her knees over my shoulders. Now with my feet wider than hips distance apart, I'm going to stack my hips over my ankles. And then she's gonna slide her bottom just a little bit closer to my head. Gotta make up for the balance. There we go. Does that feel good? Boom. Ba-ba. And then feet down. Nice. And then you just set their feet down, give a forward fold. Oh, I didn't see that, but hope that works out. Cool. So as you can see, even with us, it takes a lot of calibration, and that's totally cool. Even just now, like I was like, oh wait, I feel like if we'd done this one little thing. So Deb and I will keep going back and playing. Keep following along, subscribe, because we are coming out with a yoga challenge series where we really break things down for you. We give you conditioning stuff to do for you to like really build up the strength and the flexibility to keep progressing in this practice and accomplishing all those other awesome yoga challenge poses. You can find our links in the description below to my YouTube channel, to Deborah's Instagram account. Please follow along, give us a comment. What did you guys think? Thanks so much, and hope to see you again.